On today's episode of WatchJRGo, I get to tell you guys a story. Every pilot's worst nightmare. That's right, we almost crashed the plane. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today we are here in the shop to talk about every pilot's worst nightmare. I mean, it might be every pilot's second worst nightmare, but I would say it's one of the scariest things that could ever happen to you in the sky. So, I'll start at the beginning. I was talking to one of my good friends, and he has a 2021 Cirrus SR22T, a G6. And it's super nice, and I've flown in it quite a few times. And of course, as many of you know that watch my videos, I'm a student pilot with quite a few hours. So of course, any chance I get to go flying, I jump at it, especially when you're not paying the gas bill. It's the fastest place to jump because you get used to paying that gas bill as a student pilot. So one of my good friends wanted to go flying, and he hadn't flown in a couple weekends, and he was actually kind of 50-50 on flying that weekend. He was like, you know, I'm not doing anything today. Let's take the plane out. I haven't flown in a couple weekends, so why not? And I was like, I'm on my way. So we met at the airport, jumped in his plane, and everything went exactly the way you would expect in a modern Cirrus. Quick pre-flight, plane looks great. He has tons and tons of hours in that plane. He bought it, I think he was technically the second owner, but he bought it with a couple hundred hours on it. So a brand new plane when he bought it, and one of the coolest GA planes you can possibly fly. It's got all the features, full Garmin avionics, great autopilot, my favorite thing in the world, a yaw damper. I know that'll spark up some conversation in the comments there, but it's so nice that once you're flying, the plane handles the rudder for you. It's an absolute dream to fly in that SR22T. And of course, most of my hours are in 172s, 182s, and moving from 1960s 172 to a 2022 SR22 is a world of difference. You get so much power. You trust the plane, you know, in your head, no matter what, you trust the plane because it's brand new and it's got a new engine and it's a great airframe. And then of course, you have the parachute in case anything goes wrong. And I've never given a second thought to actually needing the parachute on a Cirrus. I was always like, yep, it's cool. I mean, I guess if we're crashing, we can reach up and pull the handle, and you know, it scraps the airframe when you pull the parachute. So it's not a good day if you have to use it. But it's nice to know in the back of your head that if something really goes wrong, there's a parachute up there. So that's the plane we were jumping in, and of course the weather conditions were amazing as well. We were leaving Wichita and flying out towards Independence, Kansas, and just kind of flying around and putting some hours on the plane so we could, I mean, he could build time. It doesn't count for me because he's not a CFI, but I guess in general we're both building time, and it's always great to go flying around for a little while. Anyway, visibility infinite, and the weather absolutely perfect, 70, 75 degrees outside, low winds, clear blue skies. You couldn't ask for a better day to take the plane out. So we head out to Independence, and we fly all the way out there, do a little sightseeing, and we were gonna land and come back, but we decided, you know what, why even land? Let's just go back and enjoy the rest of the day. So on the way back, we see something crazy down below, and we're flying along. It's on autopilot, and I have the controls at that time. I mean, autopilot really has the controls, but I'm flying, and my good friend's just chilling at the controls as well. So we both are kind of peering out the window because there is a legendary water park in Kansas that belongs to a guy who owns a quarry and just started building slides. And if you guys watch Tanner Brongard's channel, you've seen him out there quite a few times. It has like 100-foot slides, and it's completely private, and the only water on those slides is like a garden hose stuck on it to keep the slides wet. But he has a bunch of them, huge rope swings. He'll swing you off equipment. You get to do all kinds of amazing things at this water park, but we had never seen it before. It was just being built. So we're looking out the window, we're like, what on earth is that? That's pretty crazy. And then, you know, we looked out for 2 seconds, looked back up, and there is a gigantic flock of these giant black birds, you know, a little ways out in the distance, but we're heading straight towards them suddenly. They just appear in front of us like you'd see in a movie. And I start to push the nose over so I can get out of the way of the birds. And I look up and I like birds, and I push the plane over a little bit, and my friend I'm with just slams it all the way forward, and we just start diving down. And I was like, oh, good save, we're gonna miss, right? It looks like we're gonna miss this cluster of birds. But one of them was a little bit low, and you guys already know where this is going. It turns out those birds, those big black birds you see in the sky, I don't know what they were, Canada geese or some kind of big solid black bird. You think it's like 1 foot across. That thing had a 6-foot wingspan, and our wing, our right wing, just slams into the bird. It seemed like an absolute explosion went off. I'm looking out the window in horror, and we see it go tumbling off the wing, and immediately we're like, what's gonna happen next, right? So my good friend's already got his hand on the parachute. He's ready to pull it if anything goes wrong, but the plane seems to be flying pretty well. So everything lights up, a bunch of errors pop up on the dash immediately. SR-22s have anti-ice or de-icing systems built in. It's TKIS, and immediately error lights pop up for that failing across the leading edge of the wing. I can see there's like damage to the wing, quite a bit of damage to the wing, and of course, you know, a huge dent in the leading edge. And we don't know how bad it is, right? A lot of that plane's carbon fiber. Is the structure underneath damaged? You really don't know how bad it is when you're in the air and you can't go feel it out or anything like that, but nothing's flapping around, plane's still flying fine. So even with like 3 fresh warning lights on the dash, we decide to keep flying and see if we can make it back to the airport that we originally left. So we did. We were at about 7,500 feet when we hit those birds, and we dropped down immediately to about 4,500. And after that, everything seemed like it was flying fine. We weren't having to add a bunch of trim or anything like that, keeping the wings level. It flew just fine. So we ended up making it back and landing it pretty uneventful. And then we had to figure out what to do, right? What do you do with a plane with a bunch of damage? And obviously you guys can see the pictures here. I probably should have taken more close-ups so you could see how, you know, smashed in the leading edge of the wing actually was. But we just called Cirrus. Obviously, you don't know what to do when you have a bird strike, right? You basically report the bird strike to the FAA. It's voluntary, but you should always report the bird strike so they know where the birds were at, kind of what was going on at the time, and then you call insurance, I guess. So insurance and Cirrus at the same time and see what everybody wants to do about the situation. And in this case, the plan was, since it was a brand new plane, to send the plane back to Cirrus. So they actually came in with a ferry pilot and picked up the plane and took it all the way back to their headquarters, stripped the entire wing and rebuilt everything underneath, reskinned it, put a new leading edge on it, repaired all the de-icing. So it was actually a pretty crazy process to see what goes on after a bird strike. And of course, the next day I was back with my flight instructor and I was like, hey, you ever hit a bird before? He was like, yep. I was like, wait a minute. This is supposed to be a very small club. And he showed me the craziest thing I've ever seen. He was flying along in a 172 and a bird, I think a duck, went straight through the spinner and ended up in the cowl, kind of jammed in there above the alternator on a 172. And it didn't kill the engine, didn't destroy the prop. Unbelievable. So I immediately, I was like, well, yours is a little bit more wild than mine at this point. We were in a brand new plane that takes care of itself really well. And his was, old school 172 that just keeps flying. So absolutely crazy story. I think it's every pilot's worst nightmare. Nobody wants to go through a bird strike. It's pretty unsettling when it happens. I mean, for a while there, you think you're coming out of the sky. And the only thing that's more of a nightmare than that is probably a wing falling off, right? It's like wing fall off, bird strike, engine failure, kind of in that order. Landing gear after that, or landing gear above engine failure even. I don't know if anybody actually ranks the worst things that could happen to you in the sky, but they're all pretty bad and you don't want any of them to happen. And it was just an absolutely crazy story that it happened to us, and here we are living to tell about it again. So, be careful out there. If you see any birds in front of your plane, try to get out of their way, because they're not getting out of your way. It seems like they try to go around, but I don't know, maybe they assume you're a bird too. But whatever happens, they're not going around you. Anyway, plane's totally fixed, papered, back, it looks like nothing ever happened, and it was just a wild thing to live through, and hopefully I never have to live through it again. A second bird strike seems like you're running out of your odds gambling there. Anyway, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. This is really just a good chance to start the Cirrus versus Cessna argument in the comments. I know a lot of people love training on 172s, but I am worried sick about it because I keep flying these terrible 172s that have the most dodgy repairs I've ever seen on them at the flight school and stuff like that. I don't know, nobody should ever allow these things back in the air. I've seen, wing supports like moving inside the rivets, and I've been told that it's fine to go flying with 4 quarts of oil in the crankcase on a 172. These guys, none of these pilots have ever seen engine failures, and that's what I don't get. Engine failures happen every day by the rack as far as I'm concerned. That's all I see, right? We just deal with engine failures day in and day out over here, and they're just certain nothing's gonna happen to them up in the sky. And I can tell you that I would rather be in a 172, amazing plane, right? But put me in a new one. If it doesn't have a glass cockpit, I don't want to be in it anymore, because the wing falling off is my biggest fear at this point. And the way those things are taken care of, and all the prop strikes they've always been through, and they've just been beat on their whole lives, and the way they're worked on is not great. I don't know, either a new 172, something newer than 90s, hopefully, that's fine actually, or a glass cockpit one, I trust those implicitly, or an SR-22, and I'm pretty happy in the sky. That's about what it's gonna take for me at this point. I need to make sure that I'm gonna get down if I'm going up.